Hello everyone, my name is RagingRaptor and welcome to a new World of Tanks video. And today we do something a little bit different than what we usually do. In today's video we are going to start a series of fan Techtree proposals. And today we're going to have the Romanian tank destroyers. After that, the Romanian heavy tanks and medium tanks, and then we'll have a look at the Swiss Techtree. And as you probably know, I really like Swiss tanks because I am myself a chocolate loving cheese muncher, aka a Swiss. So in today's video let's talk about this, because I'm not the one which did all the effort of searching and looking what could be for the Techtree proposal. This is a collaboration between Mitsutayo, which did the Swiss Techtree, Davidblader, which did the Romanian Techtree, and this little stupid face here with the big nose, which is just going to do the exhibition. So why a Romanian Techtree? That is very simple. They have a lot of unique vehicles which do not exist in the game yet. They have a lot of historical tanks, not just some napkin tanks, like the Polish heavy tanks. And then there could be loads of Techtrees in general without copy-paste tanks. Like at least the medium, heavy, as well as the Tankdestroyer line are all unique vehicles, and the same goes for the Swiss Techtree. There are also a lot of unique vehicles. Then, Romania had a rather big influence in the Second World War. Some historians even say that they were the most important ally of Germany. And lastly, the Romanian community is rather large in World of Tanks, so why not? Plus, I do think that Arsenal would really appreciate that as well. Lastly, does Wargaming know of this Techtree? Obviously, Wargaming now knows yet again of this Techtree because I start to show it to you, but they know of this Techtree since 2012 or 2013, but didn't do anything with it yet, so that's a little bit annoying. However, about this Techtree, are there any fakes in this Techtree? You know, what is historical and what is not? The Tankdestroyer tech line basically has only 4 proposals and drawings. The rest is produced and was being used. And in the medium heavy tank tech line, we only have 1, which is a historical reconstruction. Everything else would be either been produced or would have been a drawing of a produced tank, you know. So that sounds very nice to me personally, when we have a little less napkin tanks and a little bit more realistic tanks, and maybe a little bit less objects. So this is the Techtree proposal of Davidblader, and today we are just going to have a look at this section up here. So let's just start with the tier 1 tank, which is the R1. It is a fast tank, around 45 kph, has only bad guns, 7.92mm heavy machine guns, and maybe a 20mm Ehrlich. So basically you just have to run around, be fast, be nimble, use your speed, to flank, but you don't have armor anyway on that tier, so yeah. Then we have the Takam R1, which is a tank destroyer, which is based on the R1 chassis, and it's comparable to the Panzerjäger. However, this is, in Davidblader's eyes, going to be a collector's vehicle, and so is the Takam T60, which is comparable to the Marder 2. It has less pen, which is around 70mm, has bad gun depression, but has a pretty decent top speed. Now, when we use the Takam R2, we are finally getting into the real Techtree on tier 4. It is the first true tank destroyer of the branch, comparable to the Su-85B. It has around 160 damage, 150 to 160mm of pen, meh mobility, no armor. It is a true class cannon, which is basically the whole theme of the whole Romanian tank destroyer line. Now, however, we are going to have a look at probably the most unique tank of the tank branch, the Marschall M04. It is one of the smallest tanks in the game, or would be one of the smallest tanks in the game. It has 2 guns, a 75mm and a 122mm gun. It has virtually no armor, maybe around 20mm. It has good mobility, which gives it up to 45 kph, and it has only 2 crew members. This might be a little bit of an issue if you look at the crew system which we have right now, but don't forget that Wargaming is planning or is working on Crew 2.0, meaning that we won't have a problem with 2, 3 or 1 crew members in a tank line. Yes, the Maréchal M04 is small. This is a reconstruction of the size compared to the Hetzer. The Hetzer isn't that big of a tank, you know. It's insanely small, that's why you only have 2 crew members in it. On tier 6 we would have the Maréchal M06, which is an upgraded version. It's a little bit bigger, has the same guns, but most likely better DPM, better aim time, better accuracy. Now has 3 crew members, a new engine giving it a top speed of 50 kph, and again around 150-160 millimeters of pen. I know, for tier 6 it's not that good anymore, but there are worse tank destroyers like the Jagdpanzer 4, which has also 2 guns at a 75mm, 88mm and a 75mm if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, obviously all the stats we're talking about right now are just proposals how we would envision that. Maybe Wargaming says, you know what, for gameplay sake we're giving it another gun, which is basically the same as the previous one, but it has different rounds, giving it more pen and stuff like that. Next up we have the Maréchal 150, which is going to be a tank comparable to the SU-152. It will have either 150mm or a 152mm howitzer. 150mm being comparable to a German one, the 152 being a Russian-made one. So we might have, again, that's why it's comparable to SU-152. You might argue maybe we just give it the KV-2 gun rather than the SU-152 gun. Thing is though, this will be a very, very small vehicle. It will have good mobility but a little bit bad gun depression with just -5 degrees. But yeah, this is a small tank, meaning it will be hard to spot and you have a pretty big gun punching somebody in the face. However, let's go to the tier which I really like, the high tiers. And here we have a very, very unique proposal of a tank, the MLI 100. It is a project for a 100mm armed tank destroyer. And it has paper-thin armor, very good mobility, and it's on a license-built BMP chassis, which also has been improved. This thing could have in theory an auto reloading mechanism. This really depends how Wargaming wants to envision the higher tier tanks, because the tier 10 tank would also have an auto reloading mechanism. Again, I pronounce it this way because it could be an auto loader or it could be an auto reloader. It really depends if Wargaming wants to introduce or keep the auto reloading mechanism as Italian exclusive. Except for the IS-3A, which has an auto reloader as well. Anyway, the MLE 100 will be a very paper or glass cannon tank destroyer. It would have a top gun with 320 alpha and 240mm of pen. We could even argue that this might get like 300mm of heat pen or 320mm of heat pen, because this gun would be comparable to what the Object Force 16 has. Really, the MLE 100 would be a better 416 with less armor and more mobility and a better gun. And maybe a little bit better gun depression. Next up we have one of the most iconic Romanian tank destroyers proposals, the AOPR-89. This thing existed. This thing existed and was in the Romanian military's service, and it looks very, very unique. This might be also once again on a BMP chassis or on the Object 906 chassis. Here I'm not very sure. However, it is a glass cannon, it is fast, and it has no armor. It is using a 122mm gun with 440 alpha. We suggest maybe around 326mm of pen. It would be a very nice thing. This would be again a sniper tank destroyer comparable to what the Stridswagens would be, but with a little bit more alpha, fully rotatable turrets, but no siege mechanic. However, the thing is, this will have bad gun depression. Historically, only 3 degrees, and in theory could argue that maybe in game we buff it to -5 degrees to make it a little bit more convenient to use. But yeah, this thing could be very, very interesting, and I do have to say, there is a little bit of a niche for glass cannon TDs with lower alpha guns in World of Tanks. Yes, we have the Waffenträger auf Panzer 4, but 560 alpha is rather big, you know, and it's not that fast. The Stridswagens are rather fast, but they don't really have turrets, you know. The Conway, it's not fast, and it's big, and it's clunky, and it's ugly. Sorry for everybody which loves British tech line, but I don't like it. I really don't like it. The T-30, more about armor, you know. So we really are lacking a sniper-esque tank destroyer branch for higher tiers. So let's have a look at the TAA tank proposal. A tank destroyer with a 125mm gun, maybe around 470 to 490 alpha, and it would have an autoloader. Most likely, most certainly. Or an auto reloader, which would also be very interesting if you ask me, if Wargaming would give a tank destroyer branch an auto reloading gun. This is how this thing looks, and well, that thing is very unique. The turret really reminds me of the Concept 1B we already have in the game and will be shipped out very soon as the ranked season is over. And it only has 3 crew members. As you can see, we have a commander over here, we have a driver, I guess, over here, or rather over here, and then we have the gunner down here, and it has all the ammo rack in the back. And you can also see that it has a very uniquely shaped gun mantlet, which is duckbill-like. This could even lead to it having rather decent armor on the turret. However, the whole armor will be very, very thin, and you can see right here in this technical drawing, we have the transmission in the front with the engine right behind it, and probably and most likely also the fuel tanks right up here. So meaning we will have the same issue the UDES 1516 will have, meaning that maybe 2 shots into the front and you will start burning, maybe even just 1 shot if you look at the Stridswagen 103B. It will not have very good armor on the hull, but again, the turret might be very, very good. The most interesting thing about this tank will be, it will be the fastest tier 10 TD in the game. It will only have 7 degrees of gun depression, obviously bad armor, except for the gun mantlet. You know, Wargaming might also say, you know what, we're not going to give it an autoloader, which I will be totally fine with, because if Wargaming decides to introduce this tank, Wargaming could argue maybe 470, 490 alpha, quick firing, maybe 560 alpha, you know? Quick firing gun. And say, yeah, this is an autoloader, because in theory the Stridswagen 103B also would have an auto reloading mechanism as far as I know, but it doesn't have it in game because it just reloads this fast, you know. So the thing is, I already am talking about constantly to have a Guerrilla 15 with the 12.8 centimeter gun, you know. Give the people choices. Give the people choices between one gun and the other gun. Wargaming, and I have to applaud you to that, did an amazing job with the E100. The stock gun as well as the top gun are 2 valid options, and we in Clan Wars especially had even both options during the game. We had one which was purely for the alpha strike and maybe the HE damage, and then we had the DPM monsters with the 12.8 centimeter gun. So if Wargaming doesn't want to introduce that to the Guerrilla 15 as well, why not give us the option at least for another sniper-esque tank destroyer with very light armor, very speedy, and a little bit less alpha? Seriously, this thing could be so unique in my opinion, because again, on tier 10 we are kind of lacking sniper tank destroyers. You know, we have the 215Bs, with the 183s, the stage 2s, they are cancerous because they're literally there to just kill your joy by one-shotting you. Then we have the WZTD, which is out of meta anyway. The Object 268, which could be a tank destroyer for sniping, but you know, it's not really that good, even though it got buffed recently. Then we have the Object 268 version 4, which is just like balls to the walls, go in. We have the Guerrilla 15, which is the true sniper. We have the Stridswagen, which is the true DPM sniper. Then, and very good camouflage, obviously. Then we have the tanks like the Foch B, which isn't really a sniper. Same goes for the Foch 155. They aren't really snipers. Then we have the Bachelor, which is a DPM monster, but with very, very good armor, but rather slow mobility. Then you have the E4, which is kind of like a heavy tank with a big alpha gun. And the E3, which is basically balls to the walls, I have armor, go fuck yourself. So we really have all that as TDs, and I hope I didn't forgot about... Oh yeah, the Trackman 700, which is just alpha memes, but that's it. We are really lacking a sniper-esque tank destroyer, so yeah, TAA would be very unique and very interesting. Especially if Wargaming would either think about the auto reloader, or if Wargaming would think about giving it a very unique alpha, like maybe 550 again. You know, the Object 263, guys, the Object 263 was what the TAA could be, just the TAA would be even faster and more sniper oriented, while the Object 263 did had a decent chunk of armor to play aggressively. lastly, we have also a premium tank proposal, the Garoafa, which is a Russian 2S1 Gvozdika in Romanian military. It's basically the tier 9 tank but stock, you know. So it would once again have the 122mm howitzer. I know this tank would be inferior, and the same goes for the tier 9, would be inferior artillery pieces, but those guns could have been used for direct fire support, you know, where you would just give them a heat round in real life. So in World of Tanks wouldn't be a big issue, you know. This thing would totally be a-okay as a tank destroyer as well. Again, 122mm howitzer, around 390, 440 alpha. And the most interesting thing, this could be a double nation trainer, you know. This could be a tank destroyer for the Russian as well as the Romanian Techtree, because this is a Russian built machine. So why not wargaming, you know? That's how you want to make money, right? And you could do this as advertisement as possible, you know? Plus, I'm pretty sure Arsenal would be also up for the task to make some advertisement for a Romanian Techtree. But yeah, let's summarize the tank tree again. Low tiers, 2 to 4, they are comparable to German low tier TDs like Marder and Panzerjäger. Mid tier, we start to see unique tanks with insane camo, good mobility, no armor and good guns. And lastly, on high tiers, we are going to have a look at high mobility, rear mounted turreted TDs with maybe an auto reloading mechanism. So yeah, in conclusion, the thing is, boys and girls, the thing is, I always like new tanks. I always do. It's always nice to have something new to grind for and something unique to play with. So it's basically a given for me that I always will say, yes, give me a new tank tree. The thing is, the Romanian Techtree proposal, especially the Tankdestroyers, are unique, you know? They are unique and there would be a new niche for them in World of Tanks, so I don't see why Wargaming wouldn't like to introduce them. But, obviously, it is Wargaming's choice if they want to introduce a new tank destroyer line. Some people might argue, there are already too many tank destroyers in the game. But yeah, I personally would be totally thumbs up for this Techtree proposal. So, let me know in the comment section below what you think about the video, what you think about the Techtree proposal, and what you think if Wargaming should introduce this tank tree. Let me know that. Don't forget to subscribe to be up to date with everything World of Tanks related, and don't forget that I'm going to do another video about the Swiss Techtree proposals, and obviously about the medium and heavy tank proposal for the Romanian Techtree, because they are also rather unique, if you ask me. Thank you so much for watching. My name is RagingRaptor. Cheers and good luck on the battlefield.